Hey, yo.
All right, so Derek, we're doing this podcast. We've been talking about. We
Yeah,
kind of landed on something,
yeah,
and it was about like this idea of uh, striving to compete with yourself, set your own terms of success, and like what winning looks like for you might not look like what winning looks like for the rest of the world. We're talking about the podium finish, the top three.
yep,
That's this big thing in sports.
yeah.
It's like to
Win,
stand
place, or
atop the podium.
show.
Yeah, stand atop the podium, right?
Yeah. Get your
And
medal. Get your flowers.
yeah, right. And your career, working your way out of a difficult situation in which you grew up,
Yep.
to excelling in college, getting into good colleges, you know, getting degrees, working jobs, changing jobs, progressing, from like a medical device engineer all the way up to
Sitting, on in the C-suite with a biotechnology company.
there it
So I,
is,
I
right?
that's the top of the pyramid for sure.
Publicly traded too,
Yep. Yep.
so that's a big deal, right? So
Mm,
you hit a finish line in a way, and you have run like a pretty competitive race, a few of them. What's it mean to kind of feel fulfilled and to have, people would look at your position and say, well, you're a success. Well,
hmm
you are a success, right? But it's not because of you standing on that podium. Like it is maybe in the eyes of others, maybe
Yeah.
in your own eyes, but like you have a chance to kind of say, what success looks like for you.
Yeah. That's a a good place to kind of try to unpack this a little bit, right? Because for any athlete running track, right? What you're aspiring to is be on that podium. Ideally you want to be at the top of the podium, but if you're second or third, you're there and you're going to get a medal. And that's why you're running. That's why you're competing, right? And in my own um, story, which you kind of gave a thumbnail of there, yeah, I worked my way from the very bottom to the very top and put a lot of effort and dedicated my life essentially to doing that. And I can say that in that last corporate position that I had, standing on the podium, you could say that I was. That's what everybody's aspiring to. A C-suite, a seat in the C-suite with
Mhm.
uh, a company that is publicly traded and actually doing well. I felt empty.
Mm.
I felt unfulfilled. I felt like something just wasn't clicking for me. And I spent some time unpacking that. And I think that my experience is not uncommon. I think that, there's this whole, I don't know, concept of like the hedonic treadmill where,
Yeah.
it's like the sugar high of getting something. That was basically my whole life was chasing after the next thing and thinking that that next thing was going to bring fulfillment and joy. And make no mistake, like it was great to achieve all the things that I did, but at the end of it all, through each one of these, and at the end of it all, I still felt like something wasn't quite right. And I
Mm.
think what I recognize is that I was really reading like a societal script. This is what you do. You work hard in school, you get good grades, you go to a good college, you uh, get a good job, you climb the ladder in your industry, and you keep going, right? Everybody's chasing that brass ring at the
Mhm.
very top of the pyramid. And, I kind of feel, I don't know, another analogy is like the dog that caught the car.
Yeah.
Like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
Right? It was
Yeah.
very empty. And it was, I was kind of frustrated. The things that I had to do to get there, left me drained and empty.
Mm.
Yeah. So this
And,
concept is very powerful for me. This whole
and
concept of like, okay, what are you striving for and why? And the importance of defining our own success in our own terms by unpacking that experience,
Mhm.
that's what got me where I am today,
Mm.
away from a corporate job, uh, coaching people to understand uh, where they're going and why, and understand themselves better. I had to understand myself in that moment, and it was very awkward. It was very um, it was I just felt this disconnect that I had to figure out.
And I want to point out that even with this kind of uh, spiritual or emotional dissonance between your level of achievement and where you were and kind of how you were feeling, you're still performing at a very high level. You're still doing good work. You were still, you were excelling at your job, right?
Well,
I
maybe that's up for debate. If you were to ask some of the folks from my last company how I was doing, you'd probably get different answers. I thought I was doing just fine.
hmm,
But yeah, I while I was kind of experiencing this dissonance, you know,
mhm,
um, yeah, I was still performing
yeah,
and still doing this job, and it was exhausting.
hmm,
It was exhausting. I think that, and there are many reasons why it was exhausting. I think one of the things that I figured out was just the toll that I was paying to be in a role like that and to stay in a role like that as someone from an underrepresented group. And you know, the sort of there's doing the job, but then there's also all the other things that you have to deal with and manage, almost like a program running in the background that is taking up RAM, right? And so yes, my if I was like a chip or a system, I was running hot
mhm, yeah,
because of all of the incredible amount of processing that was going on. Very, very hard to sustain. And, uh, I just didn't feel a sense of alignment. Felt like, hey, something's out of whack here.
yeah.
And I got to figure it out.
That's an important word there, alignment as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where you are now, uh, you've had a chance to kind of reflect and do some work. And what does I guess I was going to say what does success look like for you now, or like how do you define what it looks like for you now? And if that's a work in progress and you want to come back to it, that's fine. Um,
Yeah. The I think the best way to describe what success is for me now, or maybe what my why is now, um, at that moment when I was on the podium and I had the medal around my neck and I felt empty or dissonant, um, I realized in that moment that there was something so there's something else that I wanted to do other than what I was doing. I kind of took stock of the 30 years of work that I had done, and I saw these like trends and patterns in workplaces that I had been in. And I also saw trends and patterns in my own behavior that um, bothered me, that really didn't sit well with me. And I I wanted to address that. And I think that, what I recognized is that uh, what I really want, what I really care about, is um, I want organizations to operate and run in a healthy way and in a way that is people centered. Unfortunately, I've worked in a lot of places that are not. They profess to be, but they really weren't. And I want the people working in these organizations to uh, themselves operate in a healthy way and in a way that is aligned and purposeful and um, you know tied to their agency, right? I think a lot of people sort of um, they go with the flow in their careers and they just do what society deems is important or conform to like a societal version of success, definition of success, and not everyone has the courage to buck that. So one thing I want to do is help people, inspire people, give them the courage to see their own ability to do that.
Yeah.
Number one, and number two, influence organizations who are in the business of doing the things that I used to do, right? Where they're really fixated on the operational aspects to broaden the lens and think really about the engine of it all as people
Mhm.
and fundamentally understanding people. So that those two things were really like what I got from unpacking and thinking and reflecting and being honest with myself about what I wanted to do with my life. Kind of a long answer.
It's it's great. I love it. It's and so what you were talking about of like people kind of landing in this path where they're going with the flow. I think back to kind of the track analogy too. You hear about the rat race, right? As a
Mm-hmm.
that's an old metaphor. I don't know if people still use it, but like it's very pejorative. But it's like when people feel the worst, they feel like they're running through a maze or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
imagine that you have just been pulled off the street and you were dropped onto the track and, you know, go, right? You're running a race you didn't even necessarily want to be in. You're chasing a podium finish that might not be fulfilling, right? What I'm hearing from you, it it's like you went through a process of defining what your podium would be. What does it mean to stand on a different podium? You got off of that podium, you're standing on a different podium, you're pursuing a different podium. And I hear you talking too about wanting to bring other people up with you. So the concept that we were talking about for our podcast, and thank you for kind of sharing your story, because I think it's illustrative of this concept of a new kind of podium for you, right? For people who are defining their own path, whether they have been unfulfilled in their path before or they're just starting out. Um, you always want to know why you're doing what you're doing, what the why is, right? So the concept of what we're doing here and what you're doing, what we're helping other people do, I'm also you're a coach now. I'm a coach, and the conversations that we've been having with people for years now, and looking at our own is like, how do you define how you want to be fulfilled? And how do you, if you're, especially if you're somebody who thinks in terms of helping others, how do you bring other people up with you? It's building your own podium. You have figured out the design of your own podium.
Yeah, I have. I believe I have, and I believe I continue to ideate, and refine
Iterate. Yeah.
what that podium is, what it looks like, and what it means,
Yeah.
right? And some of it is tied to the time that we're living in, right? I think that um, we all need to have the courage to embrace our own truth and embrace the essence of who we are so that we can stand on a podium that means something to us, that really means something to us. The other thing that comes to mind is I'm just really struck by the the sort of energy around individualism that we have in today's society, right? For the most part, it's like, hey, get yours, right? I am working um, to counter that. I think that a lot of the things that are uh, you know causing issues in today's society, it's a lack of community. It's a lack of togetherness. And when I
Mhm.
think about what my podium looks like, yes, it's the one that I'm building. It's the one that means something to me, and I want to share that podium with as many people as possible. So when you look at podiums, like usually there's space for one person, right? Maybe in the
Yep.
Olympics with the basketball teams or some of the bigger teams, you see a,
Mm.
a larger podium for the entire team.
Mhm.
I want my podium surface to be pretty darn big. And I want to
Mm.
help as many people up onto that as I can,
I
right?
mean, right
For,
then and there, that's a decision of like, what kind of sport am I playing? If you see your life and your career as an individual sport, there's only room for one. If you reframe it to be something about playing with others and winning as a group, you're playing a different sport, your podium looks different.
yeah,
It's bigger, there's room for more people, and you want to get everybody on it.
yeah, yeah. And I want it to be conscious. I want it to be something that people actually want. Some people may discover, hey, I don't want to come up on your podium with you. I want to go on a different podium. I want to build a different podium. That's great. That to me is success, right? I want to make as much room on mine for people as I can because I really want to foster this sense of togetherness, this sense of community,
Mhm.
and uh, a sense of purpose. That is truly yours and
Mm.
not something that's manufactured by society or that you feel there's some norm or some you know code that you have to follow. I want people to follow their own code. I want to figure out what their code is
Mhm.
and then follow it. That is actually what got me here. Is having the courage to say, okay, what is my code? What do I believe? What is important to me? And follow it.
Yeah, yeah, yes. So you came from a spot, and I think we both have done this in our careers, running ourselves ragged, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and
Yeah.
a lot of people do that. They're just working their buns off to support their families, to do good work for their colleagues and their customers and their clients. It's a lot of good
Mm.
reasons to work hard.
Yeah.
We're all for it, and also, you might be fueled by a competitive spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
as former athletes, we get it. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's to get to a point where, I think we both have had moments in our career, like you were talking about, where you're like, what what am I doing here? Why am I doing it? Right? Um, it might be 2 o'clock in the morning during an all-nighter or whatever, a flight across the country, whatever it is, right? Or something more gradual. But to stop and realize, is this a race I want to win? You know, is winning something that actually would feel good? Is there another race maybe that I could be running? Is there another sport I could be playing, that's going to feel more authentic to me, more fulfilling, and more aligned with my values, right?
Yeah.
So if we can
Yeah.
help people think about that, drawing from our own experience, and what we when we continue to learn and how we continue to evolve, you know, like getting people to say, "Hey, there's something different that's possible." Pause, get more self-awareness, take care of yourself, take the time to envision and try different designs of that what that podium is in your mind, and how do we help people get the skills to get on that podium, to build the kind of podium they want to have, get on that podium and pull other people up, like, so they're feeling fulfilled. uh, that's what it's about, and I think that's really why we have gone through the audacious step of thinking that somebody else might want to listen to this podcast, and why we're kind of taking the time to think about what that concept is.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so there it is, right? I mean, we are human-oriented people. We've talked before. We're humanists. We want to bring people who think like kind of in a humanistic way, like us, because that's I think it's really important. Like if you say a podium should have room for more people, right? How do we help people get up? That's a kind of a human point of view there.
Yeah.
So we want people who
Yeah.
are like already kind of thinking about that, or maybe you know people who know us are going to be like, yeah, nodding their head.
Yeah.
Um, we want people to feel like a sense of resonance, like they're not alone in that kind of thinking, and we want people to kind of feel like there's help out there
For
and
sure.
there's
For sure.
inspiration. So we
Yeah.
want to talk about those kinds of things more and record it and make it
Yeah.
available to our clients,
Right.
to our friends,
Yeah.
anybody who might kind of where it might resonate for them. I want to kind of define success, stand in a place where I can believe, bring more people along with it. You know,
Yeah, that's really the sort of anchoring concept for what we came up with. And yeah, just the whole notion of running ragged,
yeah,
slow down and breathe and listen to yourself, listen to the voice inside yourself. Like what are you doing? Like where are you running? Why are you running?
yeah.
Uh what are you running for? Who are you running for? Where are you going?
I think it's also, I know we've been talking for a bit here, but we got to mention, I mean, yes, we're coaches. Part of the reason, I know for me, part of the reason I'm a coach is not just because I was an athlete in school and I had coaches. I didn't really understand the full value of these coaches when I had them in school.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
when I joined the workforce, I worked for 7 years without a coach. I had a supervisor, didn't really have a great mentor. But when I helped start my own company and I went from one environment into another, from big company into a small company, and there was just a few of us, and we were having so much trouble. Fortunately, a coach came into our life, teamwork coach, and that changed my life completely.
mm.
And so it kind of fits with, again, we're athletes. We're thinking about this podium, like athletes who want to get on the podium, they get a coach. You know, a coach doesn't stand on the podium with you, but they help you get there. And
Yeah.
so, if we can be helpful for people in that way, sometimes really hard driving people, they don't have kind of like, just like I did, lose sight of things. You get
Yeah.
tunnel vision, right?
Yeah. We
And a
talked, Neil,
coach,
a lot about my own story. What can you say a few words about, your kind of career trajectory and like some of the things that um you experienced that got you to where you are now?
um, yeah, I can. I still don't like talking about myself. Uh,
That was deliberate. Like
I
every
almost
time
got.
we every time we do one of these, it's always like, okay, Neil turns into the interviewer. He does a phenomenal job of interviewing me,
Thank
pulling
you,
all this stuff out of me, asking these great
thank you.
questions. I'm like, some good shit that he can say too.
I almost
I'm
got away
like
with
gonna
it.
I'm gonna ask him, like, you cannot do that, man.
I almost got away with it. Damn it. Yeah. All right. So uh, I'm going to do as a quick, kind of a nutshell version of it. But um, you and I met at Stanford.
Yeah.
Getting to Stanford was, I think it was you. You definitely had more headwinds than I did, for sure. But nonetheless, I think something we bonded over while being there was just kind of a sense of not really belonging,
Yeah.
and having to work our butts off just to keep up, whether it
Yep.
was you know calculus
Yep.
or some of
Physics.
the engineering classes, or
Yeah.
just like having a sense of sanity, like when we're working our butts off inside and like you can just look out the window and see people playing volleyball in the sun,
Mm-hmm.
it's like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
how do they
Yeah.
have the time to do that? Right? I don't know.
Yeah.
So we
When
bonded
you
over that stuff.
when you end up with the best of the best, that's what happens,
Yeah.
and yeah.
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 So yeah, the recipe that worked for me to get to that point and to get through that and uh, was not necessarily sustainable and healthy. Um,
Mm. Yeah.
uh, and by the time I was in my 20s and I was working at Ford Motor Company, I was very fortunate to get that job and work in the truck studio, designing cars, designing cars. Um, uh, my recipe was, I think my motto was like, get in touch with your inner Superman.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was all about that. And then
Mm-hmm.
that recipe did not work. As I mentioned, going from corporate setting to deciding to start uh, a strategy firm, a design strategy firm with another one of our classmates and a couple
Mm-hmm.
of other people we pulled together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When we finally did that, it took several months of planning. I quit my job, come out to California. We're working in a living room on our first client project, and it was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Um, Pressure, right? And that recipe didn't work, and so um, and at some point I can share the story of our coach. She was great, Sarah Sanguinari, the late great Sarah Sanguinari. But
Mm.
getting exposed to a teamwork coach was new for me, for us,
Yeah.
and it really
Yeah.
helped us. And we
Mm.
worked with Sarah for 20 years.
Wow.
Um, and
Wow.
so, that was life changing for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we built coaching into our culture at Jump Associates. And when I left during the pandemic, it was like another one of those things like, okay, I've done that for like 20 years. How do I feel? And I'm a different
Mm.
person than I was. So reevaluating things, right?
Yeah.
And what I
Yeah.
what I landed on was that no matter what else I would do, coaching was going to be part of that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
and so that's kind of how I ended up here. And coincidentally, you and I getting back in touch and talking and having just great conversations. And it's like, wait a minute, you also took the CTI coactive,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I think it was also some LinkedIn post that, I had this habit of just putting myself out there on LinkedIn,
yeah,
which is actually how I got the head of HR job. Um, but also what led to me leaving that job, right? One of the like that feed was kind of like my diary. Anyway, it was one thing that kind of pulled us back into each other's orbits. And yeah, I appreciate you telling that story, Neil. It's like another example of sort of, kind of getting to the mountaintop
hmm,
and having a little bit of a moment when you're up there, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
It is absolutely dissonant when you're like, other people are like, you're at the top of the mountain. It's like, why do I feel like I'm at the bottom of the valley? You know?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, by all conventional measures, it was the same with me. Like you walking away from a C-suite job
yeah,
with, you know, everything that comes with that in this economy. And yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So
it was time.
it's not an easy path.
No.
Um, but you know, finding meaning and fulfillment, right? It's if it was easy, everybody would be fulfilled. Everybody is not fulfilled, right?
Well,
So
one thing I've learned in my coaching journey is that, fulfillment and happiness don't always overlap,
yeah,
but
that's right.
there's a uh, an alignment that comes from, living your values and uh, walking the path of your values that is was missing from that 30-year arc
Hmm,
of work for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a lot of fulfillment in my prior two careers. Absolutely a lot of fulfillment, but also
Mm.
it's like there's still something misaligned, right?
Something
And that's
off.
sometimes
Yeah.
that's quite natural,
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to say that it's just biology that we are there's the ship of Theseus, right? Um, and every part, every cell in our body, every cell in my body is changed seven, well, three times over. Like I guess every 7 years, every cell in my body changed over at least three times since the time I started at Jump Associates and the time I left.
Wow.
So I'm a different person, right? I'm
Yeah.
the same person, but I'm different.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
so it's natural for people to kind of get to a point where they have different realizations about where they are and what they want.
Yeah.
A lot of things
Yeah.
change,
That's
and
right.
so
That's right.
you know it's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah.